Oh, hello and welcome. In this video, I wanted to have a look at Nvidia. So this is the daily chart of Nvidia, and you can see that it's a very strong looking daily chart. It's moving from left to right. There are a couple of noticeable events I just wanted to highlight is that um, after it reported the earnings in March, you can see that it gapped up and then it continued to move higher. Then in the June quarter, after it reported strong earnings, even though it gapped up, it wasn't able to follow through. In fact, it started to pull back and close the gap. So that's interesting. It suggests to me that investors are probably not ready to push it above 500 for the time being. And you can see that the stock has started to consolidate. So right now on Friday it closed around just above 455. Now 450 is an important level. You can see last time when it pulled back to 450, buyers stepped in and pushed it all the way up to around 500. So the question is, now that we are approaching this level, are we going to see buyers stepping in this time as well? Another thing that is worth mentioning is that this time, last time it had held the daily 20 EMA, which is this blue line, but this time it has fallen below the daily 20 EMA. But it remains above the 50 EMA, which is the pink line. That's around 444. So the two levels I'm watching is this level right here, which is 450, and then 444, which is this pink line. If price closes underneath both of them, that would suggest weakness to me. In terms of momentum, you can see RSI closed below 50, so this is not good. But I just wanted to see whether it remains underneath 50. The longer it stays underneath the 50 level, higher the risk of further move to the downside. Now, if it reclaims the 50 like this way, that's fine, because you can see right here, it spent a very short period of time underneath 50. Or even right here. So that's something I'm keeping an eye on. Also notice that Nvda has crossed. It's now beginning to move lower. So I'm seeing some weakness in momentum, some weakness in price action. I would basically say at best the daily price action and momentum is neutral. Because we are at a close to a support level. If it bounces off this support level, that's great. But if it breaks, then it becomes negative. RSI is marginally below 50, so I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt. I just wanted to see, in the next few days whether it continues to remain under 50. If so, then this will start to be more negative. Nvda. So I would say at the moment the daily pattern looks is neutral at best. It's not bullish, it's not bearish, but I'm watching to see whether it makes a decision to be bullish or whether it becomes bearish. Now let's look at the weekly chart just to see what we can see on a weekly time frame. So on a weekly time frame, you can see that it's still a very strong looking chart. This was the previous weekly higher low, and then you might say this is a weekly higher low. But at the moment it remains well above the weekly 20 and 50 EMA. The weekly 20 EMA is around 403, let's say 403. It hasn't touched the weekly 20 EMA in some time. If you look to the left, from time to time it comes and touches the weekly 20 EMA right here, right here, right here. We see the touch on the weekly 50. So if you keep looking to the left, you see from time to time it touches the weekly 20 EMA. So it hasn't done so for a while. So that's something to keep an eye on. The question, at some point, I would expect it to come and touch the weekly 20 EMA. The other point I would bring to your attention is that the gap between the two, the weekly 20 and 50, is starting to widen. Generally, when you see that, it's not sustainable. If you look right here, the gap started to widen, and then there was a correction, and and then that adjustment was dealt with. Even if you look to the left, other instances where the price had gone up very quickly, and even right here when you see that the gap started to widen, there was correction. So at the moment, the fact that the gap is started to widen, it means that the price has gone up quite quickly in a short period of time. If you look at the monthly, monthly one, you can see the very steep rise. The monthly 20 EMA is around 300. If you look to the left, that anytime there is a sharp rise above the monthly 20 EMA, you see some kind of an adjustment. Even right here, when it rose well above the monthly 20 EMA, there was a correction, and that basically was dealt with. So right now the price remains way above the monthly 20 EMA. So on a weekly basis, that's my only issue, is that it may need to consolidate further for these moving averages to get back to historical norms. The fact that it hasn't touched the weekly 20 EMA, is an issue, and the fact that the gap is starting to widen between the two. Whenever that happens, usually you see the stock consolidate. So I think this, among the four, the major average major stocks, this one looks to be the most riskiest in my view, only because of the sharp rise. The fundamentals are great, there's no question about it, but the technicals, looked a bit stretched to me. So I would be a little bit cautious on Nvda, at least over the next, on a short-term basis. All right, I'll leave it at that. I'll come back with an update on Nvda in coming weeks. Let's see, what happens going forward. Thank you very much for watching.